Welcome to Chaotic Riff Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriff.com. My name is Jason JROCK Houston, and it's my great pleasure to be speaking with the legendary Vanilla Fudge singer, Mark Stein. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm great, man. How's everybody doing out there?
We're doing great, and now, like I said, it's a great pleasure to be talking to you. I've been a big Vanilla Fudge fan for years now. We're going to be talking to you today about your new solo album, which is called There's a Light, coming out on November 26th on Deco Records. And before we get started, I should kind of, I want to mention, I was reading today, I'm kind of interested to learn that you were a keyboard player too, and you were a huge influence apparently on the legendary John Lord of Deep Purple. I mean, that's quite an amazing thing to be able to say.
Yeah, I mean, John, man, he was an amazing, player. One of the greatest ever in rock, and back in the late '60s, when Vanilla Fudge was touring a lot and at the charts, Deep Purple, when I got started out, used to come to see us in Europe, and I guess we obviously influenced them. They used to call Deep Purple the English Vanilla Fudge at one time, So I was really sorry to see John pass away a number of years ago, and in fact, my book. It's called You Keep Me Hanging On, The Raging Story, or Rock Music's Golden Age. Not to give it a plug, but he was about to do an interview, for that book, because I got a lot of great people in it, and he was excited to do it. And then I didn't hear from him for a while, and I said, that's really weird, because we used to tour together in the 60s with Fudge and Purple. Wow. So we used to hang out and, party together. Great guys. And, anyway, I didn't hear from him, and I thought, well, maybe he got tied up and changed his mind. Then I found out he was really sick, and God rest his soul. He passed from the bloody cancer plague. But John was great. He was a great gentleman, and we were friends. And just sorry to see him go, but I'm blessed that we had a relationship in the early days, and I'm proud that I had some influence on him,
Yeah, and I was reading in regards to your being a keyboardist that you actually started playing the piano at age 4. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, was that something you were really kind of wanting to learn? Were you kind of pushed into by your parents initially?
Well, I was born with this musical thing, So my uncle's house, over in New Jersey, in Bayonne, New Jersey, that's where I was born. He used to have a house, by the bay there, and he'd have a piano in his living room, and I was amazed. I used to sit there as a little toddler, and he used to, play sheet music and all these songs of the day on these called tape books, and I was so influenced. So every chance I got, if he'd run into the kitchen, I'd just go up to just to remind you, I was only about 5 years old. I started, hearing melodies. I started one fingering melodies, and everybody was like, wow.
Wow, you must have had ESP or something. I mean, look at the career you had. I mean, it's amazing. Starting off that young.
I'm sorry.
I was saying, starting off that young. You must have kind of had ESP back in the day. No, I mean, who knew you'd have the career you had? But look at what you'd end up doing with your life.
Yeah, well, I was born with that ear, and I was always incredibly, drawn to music, singers. Yeah. Vocal groups, musicians, and I started out playing the accordion. That's what my father wanted me to do. And,
wow.
And that's, a lot of the cats from that, from the classic era, keyboard players, at one time had that experience and just kind of evolved into rock and roll.
Yeah, well, so you talked about starting out on the piano, at an early age, but did you always also know you wanted to be a singer?
Well, yeah, that's another thing that always came natural to me. I was singing in the streets when I was an adolescent. I had a lot of vocal groups, a cappella groups in those days, and I paid a lot of dues, with a lot of bands throughout Hudson County and New York metropolitan area. I was cutting records when I was really young. Oh, wow. Like 11 years old, I was actually on TV with Sam Cooke and Wayne Newton. I had a record out when I was 11 years old. Wow. Called Give Me a Chance. It's pretty amazing. My father was pushing me into the streets, but my mom was kind of not too happy about it because I was still in grammar school,
Yeah. Do you know if there's any footage of that or any like audio recordings of?
I wish there was.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could probably Google it.
Yeah.
You might find it somewhere.
Yeah, who knows these days? That's something. But also, we want to talk a little bit about the solo album coming out on November 26th. It's called There's a Light. And I tell you, Mark, first of all, I seen the single, the video for the single, which is called One World.
We Are One.
Yeah, We Are One. We Are One. And just seeing the video and hearing that song, man, I think that is what we need right now at this time. And I was reading the press release for the album,
Right.
and it says this album is a collection of songs about hope, unity, and redemption and concern. And I think that is what we need at this time in the world. I mean, all the stuff we've been going through. I love to hear a guy that's not just kind of singing about the doom and the gloom of life, but like, hey, let's have some hope here.
Yeah, well, when the pandemic hit, in I guess it was March of 20. After about 4 or 5 weeks, it was kind of like in disbelief that this was really happening to mankind. It was incredible, and I was just sitting at the piano, and everybody was really paranoid in my neighborhood. They wouldn't shake hands. They didn't want to hug their children. What's the plan to survive? And the song came to me. It was like a karmic. To me, it was like a karmic thing, because we had so many chances to spread some love and human kindness all of our lives. That's the part of the lyric in the song. Because we've been, we survived all the world wars and 9/11 and all the hurricanes and just all the crazy stuff, and all the unrest and divide and political nonsense in the country. Yeah. And this song just came to me, and it's just I'm influenced by social events. Yeah. I'm influenced by what's going on at the time, and I very rarely write love songs of late. I mean, there's one on my album, but it was really influenced by the passing of somebody in my family. It's called Lion. But We Are One is, it's just a reflection of the time, and it's getting a great response. I hope you like the song, and
see, this is that's the thing I'm telling you now. Your publicist sent me the press release and a link to check out the video, and I got to tell people, I mean, the song is just enthusiastic. It's a great kind of upbeat song. Like we said, it's kind of a song of hope, talking about what we're currently going through in the world. But it's kind of, something to hope for. That was my interpretation. And here's the thing, Mark. Just seeing that one video and hearing the song with my own ears, it's like I haven't heard the rest of the album yet, but based on that one song, I'm going to go out and get it,
Well, that's great. I mean, the album is just a collection of songs and tracks that I've had over the years. The songs like racism. I mean, I know maybe sound weird to some listeners, but it's just I wrote this song. It just came to me on my take that it exists in this country, in this world. But it is a really positive song on the subject, and I'm real excited about the production and the arrangement. And there's songs like We Are Survivors, and of course the new single We Are One. And I reimagined the Great Temptations from the '70s, a song called Ball of Confusion.
Oh wow.
So if you listen to the lyrics, even now, it's so relevant now. And I came up with this new arrangement, which will actually be my second single, coming out after We Are One. So so it's a collection of songs that fit together in a theme about, like you said, hope, redemption, and
unity.
The way the country was, the way it is now, and hope for the future. So there's really cool. There's a light that shines so deep within us. If only we could find a way to keep it turned on.
Yeah, this is something else I picked up in the press release about the album and the video. It says a new single and video for We Are One speaks of the unity Mark believes the world is capable of. I mean, again, rather than trying to put a negative spin on things, I like the fact that you have kind of that hope and you believe everybody has the ability to be like that.
Right. I believe that there is a spiritual positive feeling inside of everyone. If we could just, maintain that a lot more than we have been, in recent decades, it might be a, better world because, after all,
Yeah,
and got to come together, like John Lennon once said.
In fact, talking about John Lennon, it's hard to believe this year is going to be like the 41st anniversary of his death. I mean, incredible. He's been gone that long, and
I know.
And today, and also this year marks, I was just thinking, the 50th anniversary of his Imagine album. I mean, just think about that, what he was saying in that song.
Yeah, I mean, what a great song. I mean, incredible lyrics and simplicity. Yeah.
And 50 years later, it's just as beautiful
relevant.
Song. It's just as relevant. And, you know, talking about racism, the only thing I will say on that is there is, obviously there's racist people in the world, but what I hate more than anything these days, you turn on the TV and just because somebody maybe has a different viewpoint, I mean, there used to be a time where you could not just get on TV and label somebody a racist because they had a different point of view. I mean, that's what I think is kind of taking it a little too far, you know.
Well, when I wrote the song, Racism, I was watching TV one morning and I saw these two toddlers on their way to school, a black kid and a white kid, and they were hugging each other and laughing and giving each other a kiss. I'm saying to my wife, you know, said, look what's going on with these kids, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't started living yet, but there's no venom here, you know. Why does it have to develop, you know? But if you listen to the song, man, it's like a movie. The lyrics go on and on with a whole soundtrack in it, and another one I'm proud of.
Yeah, I bet.
And I have a song called "Let's Pray for Peace."
Oh yeah,
which is another song that I've been playing around the world. That audiences are really have a very warm and beautiful response to. So that's on the album too. So see, the album's got this positive theme. So
I think that's what we need. You know, I mean, there haven't been a lot of albums that come out this year. There's been a good number of them, but a lot of artists have kind of been holding off on releasing any new music, and so I think it's cool if you're going to release something new, but it's an upbeat kind of positive thing. I mean, I personally would much rather listen to kind of an upbeat song than, you know, something's going to bring me down.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there you do have those people kind of, you know, write songs about being depressed, but I guess it's different strokes for different folks. But you know, and in regards, I guess you kind of already answered this, but why do you think this was, you know, a good time for finally put out your first solo album after all these years? You know, I guess what I'm asking is why not before now?
Well, it's the first solo album I have on a label.
Oh, okay.
I did have some solo things, you know, in past years that I published and released on my own without a label. But this is on Deco Records, and these guys are great. You know, it's a great team of guys, and you know, I'm talking to you today because of them. And we want this all to happen, and you know, we got a lot of cool things coming up in the future. So
and how did you get hooked up with those guys? Because they are a great little label. I mean, they've got a combination of new artists and classic artists. I know Carmine's also signed to them.
You know, the story is that a friend of mine, Joey Z, who has a studio in Martin County here in South Florida, I needed a place to go lay down the string orchestrations of my vocals on this track, so we kind of hooked up by fate.
Wow.
And then he introduced me to this guy, Vic Capley, who heads up Westwood One Music, you know.
Wow.
It's a really big musical organization. And he loved the song We Are One, and he knew the cats, you know, like Charlie Calv and the cats over at Deco, and he sent it over there, and they loved it. And that's how I got to Deco, and we started talking, and I said, they said, do you have, at first I wanted to do an EP, and I said, well, if you have a whole album, and I started looking through all my, you know, everything I had in the can, and it was oddly enough, I had a bunch of collection of songs that all tied together, and I guess it was again fate brought me together with these guys, and I finally have an outlet to put it all together on this. There's a Light album due out in the November. And not only
are they a great little label, I mean they're relatively new too, just I think maybe a little over a year or so old, and I tell you they keep pumping great releases out. They are really supportive of their artists. They really promote the hell out of them. So
absolutely, yeah.
That's what I love. You know, just a great label to kind of really promote the hell out of their artists. Now, let me ask you in regards to the new song "We Are One." Did you write that before or after you got the deal?
No, I think I mentioned before, I wrote it about 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Maybe April of 2020. And that was, I mean, it took a while with the pandemic to find a way to get the production done. But when I finally got it done, that's the song that introduced me to this whole new regime with Deco.
Wow.
Ultimately. So,
cool. And let me ask you, like, as far as musicians that play on the album, do you do all the instruments? Do you have other guys appear on the album with you?
Well, the album is really cool. I got some great players on it. Excuse me. Like Chasm. I got Chasm Sultan, the great bass player and singer from Utopia. He's playing bass on a song called All Lives Matter. I got Liberty DeVito. One of my favorite drummers who played, on so many millions of records with Billy Joel. And he's a great dude. And I got Pete Bremy from Vanilla Fudge. He's playing bass on a couple of tracks.
Wow.
And my buddy Stephen Diacutis, CVD, over at Soundspot Studios, played a lot of guitar, on a lot of these tracks.
Oh, cool. So you got some cool musicians that appear on there. Now, you mentioned your book, and I seen something about this on your website when I was prepping for the interview today, called Keep Me Hanging On. How old is the book? I mean, and can people still get it if they want to check it out?
Yeah, you can go to mark-stein.com. You can get a signed and numbered copy.
Oh, cool.
And you can also, if you want, get it at Amazon.
Yeah. And of course, talking a little bit now about Vanilla Fudge, probably the biggest hit you guys ever had was, of course, for that song, Keep Me Hanging On, which I come to find out is originally a Supremes tune. So I was always interested in asking somebody, talk a little bit about your kind of decision to cover that song and what a great decision that was.
Well, when we were kids, I must have been 19, 20 years old, and the rest of the group, we're all in that same age bracket.
Yeah.
We were taking songs and reimagining them. We were taking like Beatles songs and all the hits of the day, and we were like just completely breaking them down, building them up, and putting our own take to it. And it ended up being a mind blowing kind of thing in those days, because nobody heard that kind of approach to music, and it was like a psychedelic symphonic rock. So when me and the late Tim passed in January, we were sitting in front of a discotheque called the Cheetah in New York City on one cold afternoon, and for some reason we were hanging out, and Keep Me Hanging On by Diana Ross and the Supremes came on, and we looked at each other. I mean, this would be a great tune to slow down. It sounded so fast, Why don't we slow it down, and the lyrics would probably be more soulful. That's what we did. Tim said, go to work on it. Because I used to come up with, a lot of the templates and arrangements for the band. And so I came up with this approach, and Vinnie Martell had a great Indian rock raga lick. That's like an iconic lick all these years later. So the two of us worked together on it, and Carmine a piece, and Tim Bogert, the great rhythm section. We were playing it on Gano's, a discotheque on the west side of New York in those days, in around 66, I guess. And, we ended up, working together on it, and collectively came up with this arrangement. We knew we had something really special, and we couldn't wait to start playing it for the live audiences,
And how about once you guys recorded it, had the final version, and you turned it into a record label, and your managers and all these people behind the scenes that work with you are hearing it? I mean, did they all know it was going to be hit, or was everybody kind of surprised at the way it took off?
Excuse me. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was just insane, because when the album came out, we didn't, we were still kids, we were so young, and because of the advent of it was called at that time underground radio, because at the time you had to have a 2-minute and 45 or 3-minute single to get played on AM, but when FM came out, they played everything that we did, the full, Keep Hanging On was like over 7 minutes long, the original arrangement. So, and they used to play the entire first side of the album from head to toe. San Francisco, LA, Chicago, New York. And we became the darlings of underground FM music in those days. Yeah, in fact,
I was reading something today. It said that Vanilla Fudge was one of those early bands that kind of gapped, broadened the musical gap between psychedelic and heavy metal, or, one of the first bands to do so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is kind of amazing. Even Keep Me Hanging On, we're talking about. I mean, you guys really kind of fudged it up, if you know what I mean. You kind of that really kind of became your guys' song, if you know what I mean. That's a kind of a signature song, and
for sure. And also, we did like Eleanor Rigby and Ticket to Ride. We arranged Beatles songs, and George Harrison loved the way we did that. He used to play that first Vanilla Fudge album to everybody. We went to parties with it all over England and London. And Ringo, we were, pretty crazy. Yeah. But they loved the band, and
And now,
I mean, even Mick Jagger had some cool things to say about it.
Wow.
Going way back. But,
and I should tell people it's kind of come full circle because interestingly enough, I got to really talk about this now. Vanilla Fudge, you guys' latest single is a cool cover of Supreme, another great Supreme tune, Stop in the Name of Love. And again, I think you guys put your stamp all over that song. I mean, the original version, of course, is a great classic tune, but I mean, you guys, it sounds nothing like the original. I think you guys just kick ass on your version, I got to say.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's a label in Australia, Golden Robot Records, who houses a lot of the classic bands. Grabbing some water here.
That's all right.
And they, management and everybody said, well, you should be doing more Supreme songs, and maybe you should give it a shot, think about it. And so I came up with the idea to do Stop in the Name of Love back in 2019. So while we were touring, we went and I showed the arrangement to the guys, and we all worked on it and came up with this thing. We went in the studio, but we didn't finish it. And then the pandemic hit. Yeah. So it was delayed for like 2 years, and we finally got it together and put it out, pretty recently, I guess. We got Tim Bogert.
Final thing he did.
Before he passed, he wanted to do it, so we got him on the album. And, so that's the last track all original Vanilla Fudge members are on. So it's a special thing.
That's pretty cool. And the video you guys did for it, who put together that video? Because again, man, I posted on my page. I urge people to go check it out. It is just such a cool looking video.
Yeah, it's really cool. And ultimately it's a tribute to Tim.
Yeah.
And they really did a nice job integrating a lot of old footage and new stuff and a lot of psychedelic effects and it turned out pretty cool. Yeah.
In fact, I saw an old clip of you guys performing. I believe it was "Keep Hanging On" the old Ed Sullivan show when I was prepping for an interview today. And even back then, you guys, I mean, you had video screens in the back of you. It looks so cool what you guys were doing. I mean, you that's how far back you guys go. That you were on the Ed Sullivan show, and I mean, talk about that performance because it's just legendary.
Well, I mean, that was a seminal moment in our lives. I mean, it was being on the Sullivan show. I mean, you were in everybody's living room in America at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night.
I mean, I think when I hear people talk about Ed Sullivan, they usually reference either you guys or the Beatles being on there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, again, when you got on the Sullivan show, that was it. You made it.
Yeah.
That was the pinnacle because, again, probably 70 million people saw you, and you became a household word for a while.
Yeah.
And the show came off great. It was a live TV, no taping, and it came off great, and it was an amazing night. I mean, it was like our career just like took off after that because of the exposure. We had a number of albums on the charts, and they all zoomed up the Billboard and Cashbox charts because of that show, and it was so great,
Yeah, and Vanilla Fudge, the thing too about you guys is you were one of those bands where it's not like, I mean, all the guys in the band, I mean, they were phenomenal. You guys were you are a great unit, you know what I mean? But I'm just talking about, there weren't too many bands like that back in the day. I mean, that's why Vanilla Fudge is one of those bands I think that really stands out.
Well, I appreciate that. Actually, I'm leaving for a small tour over the weekend. We got like 5 shows finally after 2 years. We're going to be playing in Virginia and Pennsylvania and New York, and we got like a bunch of shows in Connecticut.
So wow.
It's going to be.
So that'll be your first time performing the new single, right?
That's right. Stop in the Name of Love. Yeah, I was actually rehearsing it today. Woodshedding it because I'm going to meet the guys next Sunday. We're going to rehearse up in New Jersey. Get ready for this little tour. Wow,
that's cool. And I was going to say too. Also, got to ask you about Carmine because he's such a legendary drummer in his own right. I mean, a lot of times drummers, they either typically one of two types of drummers. Guy that just kind of keeps them back on the stage and kind of keeps time and does his thing. And then there's guys like Carmine and John Bonham that are real physical players and they do their thing. I mean, you go see Carmine.
Those cats just stand alone. Carmine was. He was a cat right in the early days that really, started the heavy, powerful drumming. The guy was an animal. He was amazing. And when Led Zeppelin first came to this country, nobody knew him. Jimmy Page broke up the Yardbirds. He came over here with Plant Page, and Jonesy, John Paul Jones. They actually, we broke them in, you know.
Yeah.
They opened for Vanilla Fudge on their first tour, their first 2 tours, and yeah, I mean, everybody influenced everybody in one way. It was pretty glorious times back then.
Yeah. You know? In fact, I recently interviewed Carmine. We were kind of joking about the fact that you know, you always hear about John Bonham influencing all these drummers, but Carmine came before, so he actually was one of the drummers that influenced John Bonham. And it's kind of interesting to think, wow, that's how far back.
No, there's no doubt about it, because I'll never forget John Bonham knocking on a dressing room door on one of their first shows. Just, you know, young guys, and is it right if I come in and meet Carmine and meet the Fudge? And, and the rest of Zeppelin came in. Nobody knew them yet. You know, and yeah, we do go back. I mean, I'm talking 55 years ago.
Oh, of course, yeah, wow.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I can't believe here we are, like, you know, 102 years old and still rocking.
Yeah. In fact, you know, talking about that, I've seen in some old clips where some of these old TV appearances where you guys were actually introduced as the Vanilla Fudge. Now, was that how you guys were originally known, the Vanilla Fudge?
That's like a misnomer, because it's really Vanilla Fudge.
That's what I thought, yeah, okay.
It's really supposed to be, and I brought that out in my book, too, along the way. It's supposed to be Vanilla Fudge, but everybody puts the Vanilla Fudge.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
It really doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I didn't think so. And like you said, I was reading also today, Vanilla Fudge, talking about some of the bands you guys influenced that came before. Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple we mentioned, Yes, Styx. So all these bands, like you said, it's 50 years plus. So, you know, I mean, these are all bands that came after you. That's something to be said, and you're still doing it.
And we're still not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so fancy that.
Yeah, I just do not understand that. And you're talking about, you know, you guys have some shows coming up. I was curious in regards to the new solo album. Any chance that you'll be doing some live shows in support of that?
My solo album you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm planning on doing it once the thing is out there in the new year. I'm doing a show. I'm doing a thing called World Stage in Illinois, and it's an annual thing. And it's really cool. Jim Peterick, who co-wrote "Eye of the Tiger" and that classic song "Vehicle." Okay. I'm your vehicle, baby. It almost sounds like Chicago, but it's the Ides of March.
Oh, okay.
So he puts this annual show together, and he has a great band and all these great singers and musicians. And, you know, I'm going to be featured on the show in January this year. And we got some great players. And I'm going to be doing We Are One in that show. And I'm going to be doing some of the Fudge classic songs. And I'm probably going to end up, you know, singing on a verse of Eye of the Tiger, you know, when they all come back together on stage. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun, you know.
Yeah, and then, you know, another classic TV clip I came across, David, I want to ask you about is the old Mike Douglas show that you were on being interviewed. Talk a little bit about that, because that was another classic show back in the day. I remember seeing Gene Simmons from Kiss on there. Well, the coolest thing about that, remember, Richard Harris, the late great Richard Harris, was... you know, he was smoking, man. He was like in Camelot. He had the Kick Out in the Rain. He had a #1 hit. Wow. So he was on the show, and he was drinking a lot, and he was making everybody laugh. And at the dress rehearsal, he actually mooned the audience. Wow. It was like, it was so funny, man. Yeah, I bet. And and then we went on, and we had a good performance. But after the show, he grabbed me, Richard Harris, when we went. And we went walking around Philadelphia and got thrown out of one hotel after the other because we weren't dressed right. Yeah. We ended up in the back of some back street bar. And we just ordered up a bunch of beers and got really, really drunk and eating, and a whole bunch of people came in. And whenever you bring that up, I just have a fond memory of that. Yeah, because I mean, the clip I was watching today was pretty cool. I mean, and you tell how young you were at the time, but it was like right when you guys were in your prime. And another interesting clip I came across today, a more recent one from 2011, was when you guys appeared on Live with Jimmy Fallon. Talk a little bit about that, how you compare that to those. Oh yeah, Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. That was great. Yeah, we got an opportunity to get some exposure on there, which is always great. Yeah. And we were on the road, and we went to we were doing a gig the night before at a place called Sellersville Theater, which isn't too far from New York on the Pennsylvania border. A great venue. And so we had to come up with an edited version because they only wanted us to do under 3 minutes. So we had to come up with something that, you know, was specific for that time slot.
So we actually played it live in front of the audience. Told them we're going to be on the Fallon show tomorrow.
Yeah.
And next day we went to the studio. And the cool thing about it is the new arrangement was a little complicated, trying to fit it into 2 minutes and 50 seconds, whatever it was. It didn't come off that great the first take. And then they said in front of the audience, I said, "Oh man," and then the producer said, "Listen, we always offer a second take if you want to do it again." And I said, "Yeah, man, definitely." So we went and did it again, and it came off great. So I was really happy that we had the chance to do that. So
that's cool. And the reason I asked about that is because that's kind of a more modern, recent appearance. What was that like taping it compared to back in the day? As far as like did a lot of the people in that audience, did they even know who Vanilla Fudge was? I mean, did you get that immediate reaction?
Well, we got a great response. I think they were probably responding because the band was so powerful and dynamic. I think they were getting into it, and then they realized who we were, and the house band, oh God, my mind's blank.
That's all right, yeah. Don't worry about it.
They're so famous, I feel so silly.
Yeah.
Somebody out there, but they loved the Fudge, and actually, there was a couple of hockey players from the New Jersey Devils that said, "Man, who is this band? We love this band." They were out there in the audience, and we just garnered some new fans,
Yeah, and that's another thing. You bring up a good point there because with this new solo album, of course, you're going to have the diehard Vanilla Fudge fans that followed you for years, Mark. But then you're going to have people maybe just for the first time seeing the "We Are One" clip. Just who is this guy, Mark Stein? They know nothing about your career, and then as a result of checking out your new solo album. Oh, he was in this other band, Vanilla Fudge. Let's go check out some of that.
Well, I play with a lot of other bands too. I toured with Alice Cooper. Welcome to My Nightmare Show. I played for 3-4 years.
Really?
Teamed up with Dave Mason. I sang with Michael Jackson on his last album. I played with Tommy Bolin. Me and Michael Walden and a whole bunch of great people in his
Tommy, you mean Tommy Bolin from Deep Purple? Did you play in his solo band, or what was that?
Yeah, I was in his first solo band.
Wow.
Yeah, I played on Private Eyes. I was a keyboard player, and I arranged a lot of the vocals on his last album, Private Eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, how cool is that? But yeah, that's again. And what's that like as far as doing this solo album? I mean, you can go in there and kind of. This is a solo album because even though you're kind of known as Vanilla Fudge singer, frontman. You don't have to write a song that sounds like Vanilla Fudge. You can go in there and do whatever you want. That's got to be somewhat of creative freedom, I guess.
Well, I enjoyed, they called it glorified sideman. That's what they used to call it. Yeah. But I enjoyed that role, I enjoyed supporting other people's music, and it was like a whole nother art to it, really. So that was really cool.
And I think another reason you've had such a long career is... as anybody that does, is because of the songs that you performed and written. Do you remember how old you were when you wrote your first song?
How old was I?
Yeah,
I wrote my first song. I was probably, I don't know. I was probably maybe 13 or 14.
Wow.
It was a song called Maxine.
Wow.
And I had a girlfriend on the Jersey Shore.
Of course, yeah.
She broke up with me, and I was heartbroken, and I sat on the lawn with my acoustic guitar, actually, and I wrote this song called Maxine. And actually I went in and recorded it with a bunch of my friends in New York, but nothing ever happened with it, but that was the first song I think I ever wrote.
Wow, that's cool. So Mark, is there anything else you'd like to let the fans know about the new album, or anything?
Well, I hope you check it out. I think there's something for everybody on this album. I mean, I even did a version of America the Beautiful. It ties the whole theme together. It closes with America the Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
And so I got Jimmy Haslip on bass on that, great, Grammy winner, jazz fusion producer on bass, and I got a whole bunch of great people on that. So check it out, and I hope you check out my new single "We Are One" and "Ball of Confusion."
Oh, Ball of Confusion! You mentioned that earlier. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the metal band Anthrax a number of years ago, they covered that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a popular song. So I can't wait to hear your version of that. And here's another thing I was going to ask you, Mark. So you said you have another video coming out soon?
Well, we're working on a Ball of Confusion video right now.
Oh, that will be cool. Well, Mark, I want to. I seen also on your Facebook page today. I think it was an old poster of Vanilla Fudge opening up for Jimi Hendrix. That had to be quite the gig.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was the Hendrix Fudge tour in 1968. We did about 15 concerts throughout America. That was that was a pretty amazing time.
And what was he like? I mean, did you get a chance to know him much, or? And
he was a cool guy. He's a very laid back dude, and he just loved music and everybody around him. You know,
and
he had a huge entourage, and
and just a few years later, he'd be dead. I mean, it's amazing the legacy he's left behind. You know, in just such a short amount of time.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I know you're asking me a ton of questions. You should read the book, and you know, everything you want to know about everything you want to know
I'll tell you.
is in that book. So.
Yeah, if I'm gonna get my hands on the book, then maybe once I get a chance to read that, we can do this again. But take care, Mark.
Cool.
Take care, Mark, and thanks for doing this. I really enjoyed talking to you.
All right, great, man. Thanks for having me. Have a good night.
Yeah, and the interview will be going on probably in about 3 weeks. I'll let Chip know once it gets posted.
Thank you, dude.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.